It's your old buddy, the guardian of chaos, Big Daddy. And I tell it like it is. One man, unique, unedited, unscripted, raw dog for you, the fans. I'm coming on a Friday night as a little test run to go live for the fans here on Guardian of Chaos, the YouTube channel for Chaos Corner. Obviously, I know tonight's a busy night. We have SmackDown coming up in less than 30 minutes, leading into Worlds Collide. No me jodas, maricón, muévete, culo, pendejo. No offense, man, they not a kayfabe. Sit back and relax and learn a little something so you're better off when you walk out of here than when you fucking walked in here. Shout out to my moderators, Austin Nance, and of course the OTS Tribal Queen, for holding it down, keeping it real, and maintaining it. Queen, I hope you're doing okay. Sit back, grab a snack, grab a beverage. For story time on Chaos Corner. In a society like Mexico, there is the need for cultural heroes. The idea of someone who's going to avenge the wrongs of the world. South of the border, there is a very different brand of professional wrestling, which in recent years has encroached more and more on the mainstream American consciousness. With its origins in the early 20th century, the Mexican style of wrestling, lucha libre, is known for its exotic masked performers, wild tag team encounters, and innovative high-flying maneuvers. The international lucha phenomenon really began with the Lunaroth family, who founded Mexico's and the world's oldest wrestling company. Major luminaries of lucha libre such as El Santo, Blue Demon, Mil Mascaras, Pero Aguayo, Rey Mysterio, and Mystico have become cultural icons in their native country, and the mystique of the mask of the lucha cultador has taken on almost sacred proportions. Much more surreal and stylized than its American counterpart, some would even say more cartoonish. Lucha Libre presents professional wrestlers as comic book superheroes come to life. In recent decades, Lucha Incognograph, well, let me say that 3 times fast, Incognography has even taken on something of the mythic, with the mask itself becoming a visual clue for Mexican culture in general. Nearly as popular in Mexico as pro sports like soccer and baseball, lucha libre is a breed apart from American pro wrestling. Nevertheless, its fast-paced, high-energy, and high-risk pro wrestling has influenced U.S. rings in recent years as luchadors have traveled north and as American grapplers have also adapted some of their signature maneuvers. Nevertheless, its high fast, high paced, and high risk style, as I said, has infiltrated the U.S. rings. There is evidence that pro wrestling in Mexico goes back nearly as far as it does in the United States. All the way back to the late 19th century. In the early 20th century, Italian entrepreneurs Giovanni Raselovich and Antonio Fournier achieved some success promoting a style of combat sport that they first referred to as lucha libre. Let that marinate. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Translated as freestyle wrestling. But it wouldn't really be until the 1930s that lucha libre first took hold of the national consciousness. Thanks to an enterprising government official who took a liking to what he witnessed in the rings of El Paso, Texas. and decided to bring the unique form of entertainment back to his native land. We are live here on Chaos Corner. Thanks for being here. Drop an elbow on that like button. Finger poke it if you have to. Eye rake it. Leave a comment in the chat. Share. Get us into the algorithm. Become a member. It's only $2.99 a month. I mean, I gotta jerk off the dog and feed the cat if you can't afford that. Not needed, but much appreciated. The best way to support the channel. And I will be watching Worlds Collide tonight. So I don't know if you're out there right now. Hoolagrim, are you there? Hoolagrim, I'll be checking in over on your channel at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Big O, Otis Gaming, are you here? Funny Rob, Bebe, Hoodie Rob, Bebe, are you here live right now? Scripts, are you flipping the script here on Chaos Corner? Austin Nance, are you here? Future, throw them up, baby. Kratos, Comic Book Bob, Hollywood. Here's Johnny, Rick Del Santo, the Professor. Are you guys here live right now on Chaos Corner? I rarely go live. You guys know that. Before Worlds Collide, talking some Lucha Libre. So we'll see what happens. A test run, stand by, don't go anywhere. I want to try to give you guys a little information and a little temporary distraction and stress reliever from the current world affairs here. So we're talking Lucha Libre, El Paso, Texas. Raised in the Jalisco region of Mexico, Salvador Lutroff Gonzalez had been serving the government ever since battling the forces of Pancho Villa during the Mexican Revolution as a teenager. While working for the tax department, he was relocated to the border town of Ciudad Juarez in 1929. While there, he began attending wrestling matches presented by promoter John McIntosh in early and nearby El Paso, watching the finest stars of the era colliding during the early 30s. Luderoth became enamored of the exciting style of wrestling performance that was emerging at the time. And by 1933, he had invested his money in creating an organization called Empresa Mexicana de Lucha Libre, Mexican Wrestling Enterprise. This entity still exists today as Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre, the World Wrestling Council, not to be fused with the Puerto Rican League of the same name. And it's been passed down through 3 generations of the Luderoth family. It single-handedly launched the Lucha Libre phenomenon in Mexico and remains today the single oldest professional company in the world. Investing in even more money, won in a national lottery, Luderoth was able to build his company into a national force during the mid-1930s. In the beginning, the EMLL style was not much different than American wrestling. But things changed quickly when an American performer debuted for him wearing a black leather mask. Luderoth presented him as Maravilla Enmascarada, the Masked Marvel. The mask became such a popular accessory with fans that more and more luchadors, as Mexican wrestlers were called, began adopting it. Although not all luchadors wear masks, to this day in 2025, the mask is the single most defining element of Lucha Libre and has helped luchadors create colorful, unforgettable characters. And as I said, I'm here live tonight on the channel, leading into tonight's Worlds Collide at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Pardon me, excuse me. Thank you guys for being here. The Mask. One of those was a particular masked character that Luderoth developed into the masked beloved luchador of all time, as well as the face of Lucha Libre itself. El Santo, the Saint, Debuting in the early 1940s, El Santo became a celebrity who transcended the business, a cult hero whose silver masked visage adorned the pages of comic books, and whose exploits were chronicled in a series of action films during the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. He was joined by other legends as Blue Demon, the Villanos, and a luchador, obviously, who actually started out as a movie character before crossing over into the real life. He was billed as Mil Mascaras, the man of 1,000 masks. Along the way, the mask would become something more than just a method of obscuring one's face, drawing on cultural memory dating back to Aztec and Mayan imagery. The mask became symbols as luchadors could use them to represent gods, animals, mythical creatures, or any other larger than life being. Even more than in America, the secret code of kayfabe was strictly observed, as masked luchadors appeared in public wearing their masks, guarding their secret identities in a manner of superheroes. Think about that for a second. The mystique of the mask had gave lucha libre something completely unique from anything seen in the United States. Luchadors tied up their entire identities with their masks, and fans thus learned to disregard any distinction between the person and the performer. To unmask was considered devastating and could legitimately damage a performer's career. For this reason, the most grave stipulation match of all became the mask versus mask encounter, in which the losing competitor would be forced to reveal himself to the world. For those luchadors without masks, wagering their hair was a suitable alternative. This particular stipulation even gained some traction in the US, with American performers like Gorgeous George, Adrian Adonis, and CM Punk falling victim in the Clippers over the years. Think about that. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Essential elements, as we're live here on Chaos Corner. Ironically, although the code of kayfabe was taken very seriously, the actual product of self was more flamboyant than anything seen in the business up to that point. Realism was not a high priority when it came to what actually went on in the ring. Promoters and fans were much more interested in sensationalistic action. Along with the proliferation of masks, capes, and other outlandish occurrences, came the development of a much more aerial-based style that emphasized acrobatic maneuvers over mat wrestling and saw an array of unique moves added to the lexicon of pro wrestling, including the plancha, the senton, the hurricane rana, and many more, just to name a few. During the 50s, 60s, and 70s, this stood in sharp contrast to the decidedly slower, brawling American style, even caused some American stars, most notably the great NWA World Champion Lou Thesz, to look down on the lucha style as a bastardized form of wrestling that resembled choreographed tumbling more than anything else. In that era, all the American wrestlers always looked down on Mexico because their wrestling looked so fake. Quoting Dave Meltzer, who doesn't know his ass from his elbow, of the Wrestling Observer, at least that's my opinion. He did maybe in the 80s and into the 90s, but nowadays, I mean, I don't know, he's got the brain of a dehydrated BB. You couldn't watch 30 seconds of Lucha Libre and believe you were watching a contest, even though the fans were every bit as fervent and even more so, to quote Meltzer. Along with the new style, Lucha Libre developed its own set of rules that set it apart as well. To add even more action, six-man tag team encounters, or trios, well known to AEW nowadays, became the standard lucha matches, with partners flying in and out of the ring with far more frequency than in American tag team matches. The outside area around the ring saw nearly as much action as the inside. Midget wrestling became an integral part of the product in the form of the mini estrellas, many of whom were miniaturized versions of already established stars. You guys know that, right? Similar to heels and faces, luchadors became divided into rudos and technicos, respectively. Another type of character common to lucha libre is that of the exotico. Hello, McFly, is anybody home? Really? A male wrestler who takes on a decidedly feminine attribute, wears female attire, and projects a stereotypical homosexual attitude that directly flouts the macho sensibilities so intrinsic into Latin American culture, and what I believe to be one of the bigger mistakes or biggest mistakes of luchador. Whether you like its history, I don't care what color you are, what religion you are, what side of the aisle you're on, how you vote, what you look like, where you come from. I don't give a shit about any of that. And YouTube, this is for you if you censor me. I don't care about any of that. Who you are, what you look like, where you come from. Just don't jam it down my throat. And this is half of the problem and more of the problem than what's going on in today's society. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to be a temporary distraction, a stress reliever. You do you, live and let live. But if that's how you define your character and the only thing you identify with, then you got a fucking problem. In order to get respect, you have to start with respecting yourself. Once you do that, you open other people's minds to respecting you. Everybody wants to talk about therapy, mental illness, all these different things, mental health that's going on. Yeah, of course, a lot of it is reality and truth. But when you lean on that and identify that, and that's your only problem, then I think that you have a problem. And it's an escape and a term that's used in today's society to escape the criminals and the people that are sick and belong locked up and in certain areas. This isn't hug-a-thug. People are legitimate, you go get help, it works. I'm certainly not against anything like that. But if that's how you identify, that's another subject for another time. So I'll just say that to say this. And if you're watching and you don't like it, you can change the fucking channel. If you like it, hit the like button. And I'm glad you're here. I don't mean to cuss, I really don't. It's Friday night, man. Friday night. We're live on Chaos Corner. Just got paid. Feeling tight. Too much? Too soon? Too early? We're talking Lucha Libre ahead of tonight's Worlds Collide at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, getting back to the exoticos is something I really don't go for, but I get it. Although the feminized, pseudo-gay wrestler is also a traditional heel character in American wrestling as well, and Lucha Libre, the exoticos take on a much deeper implication, flying in the face of Latin masculinity as they do, which is an issue in itself. Also distinctively in its manner in which legitimately gay performers have adopted the exotico characters as part of their actual lifestyle. Although the trope has existed since the 40s, exotico luchadors have been openly proclaiming their real-life sexual preference since the 80s. And in a sign of more progressive times, they have also come to be portrayed much more often as technicos rather than rudos. And that's part of the problem of today's society. And we see what's going on with all that when the minority takes over the majority. Again, another subject for another time. Thanks for being here. I won't get into all that. The business expands. And again, we're about 20 minutes in. I won't be too long here. This is a test run for the lives that I haven't done in a year or two. So I'll be back doing live original content here from Chaos Corner. EMLL, CMLL reigned supreme and uncontested over the Lucha Libre business for decades, maintaining friendly relations with American promoters. The Luderoths were among the founding members of the National Wrestling Alliance in 1948. And in the 1950s, when Salvador Chavo Luderoth Jr. had taken over, the NWA had granted their company control over the world light heavyweight, world middleweight, and world welterweight championships, which is a lot of things that I like and I think need to come back today, is weight classes in the world of professional wrestling. I think it would mean a lot, be a lot more entertaining, and you could separate. We have all these belts and titles anyway, and championships. Why not bring back weight divisions? I think it's a solid idea. Just my opinion. This also placed the emphasis on the lighter weight performers better equipped for the aerial techniques fans came to expect. The Arena Mexico in Mexico City became the cathedral of lucha libre and the main stage on which the luchadors became legends. Among these many legends were the dreaded Medico Asesino, the innovative Rito Romero, and the hard-working Gory Guerrero, who would go on to found a dominant wrestling family composed of his sons Hector, Mando, Chavo, and the most wrestling family composed of his sons, and all, the famous of them all, the youngest son, Eddie Guerrero. Eventually, other lucha libre organizations would pop up, most notably the Universal Wrestling Alliance of the late 70s and early 80s, and a company founded by former head EMLL booker Antonio Pena that would eventually surpass EML itself. Asistencia Asoria Administración, the AAA was founded in 1992. I hope you have your notebooks out. School is in session. You should be taking notes. Of all the places I've gone to see wrestling, the best was Mexico because of the fans, says Dave Meltzer. Just being in the arena of Mexico itself was so much fun to watch wrestling because of the fan base and its passionate history and passionate responses. I want you guys to think about that as we head into Worlds Collide and how we see here in 2025 that the WWE is in partnership with, I believe, AAA, and the AEW is in partnership with CMLL, or it might be vice versa, potato, patata, tomato, tomato. But you see how the American companies, the two biggest in the world, are in conjunction with Lucha Libre, which has really become common ground here in the United States of America. Same thing as the Curacao, as New Japan, All Japan back in the day, and even more so now, but not as much as Lucha Libre. And you'll see that tonight when Worlds Collide in AAA and the WWE and CMLL, as I said, in AEW, and I believe I got those correlations correct. Again, if you're here, pick up your chair and smash that fucking like button, will you please? Leave a comment, say something. Let me know what's going on. I appreciate you being here. And listen, it's Friday night. We're going to have a lot of fun. I won't be here too long. I won't take up too much of your time. Despite what some American naysayers thought of it, the lucha libre style began to infiltrate the United States. And over the past 50 years, that influence has grown to the point where many fans don't even realize its origins. First to popularize the high-flying approach in America was Mil Mascaras, who became a national star and appeared regularly everywhere, from LA's Olympic Auditorium to New York's Madison Square Garden. Ironically, Mascaras was considered one of the most ground-based luchadors in his homeland, but nevertheless, American fans had never seen anything like him and began to develop a taste for the business and for lucha libre with his acrobatic brand of performance. And I've been a fan of lucha libre since the 70s. As a young boy and a young man watching that product. I mean, it really goes back a long way, especially if you're a historian, a traditionalist like I am. The influence only grew stronger over time. By the mid-1990s, Pena was promoting AAA superstars like Rey Mysterio Jr., La Parca, Juventud Guerrera, Psychosis, and Conan to American audiences in arenas with strong Hispanic populations like New York City and Miami, Florida. Triple A co-promoted a 1994 pay-per-view with WCW called When Worlds Collide, which will be on tonight with the WWE and AAA When Worlds Collide. That's how far back it goes. Nostalgia just ain't what it used to be. And even enjoyed a brief partnership with Vince McMahon's WWF. And you see where we are now. 1994, 2025, how many years later? And it's accepted, adopted, and co-merged in partnership with now, and we'll see it tonight. Just like what's going on in Saudi Arabia. I'll let you guys think about that. The ultimate sign of American mainstream arrival was there in 1994 with WCW. At the same time, visionary indie promoter Paul Heyman began incorporating many of the AAA standouts into his Philadelphia-based ECW, using their exotic flavor to add even more value to his groundbreaking, innovative product. Before long, U.S. powerhouse WCW had taken notice and recruited the Lucha Stars as a key weapon in its arsenal during the ongoing Monday Night Ratings war with the WWF. Their moves were ahead of us, Meltzer says. If you look at what guys do in the ring now, so much of the ring style has been developed by guys who grew up in the 90s and the 2000s and traded lucha tapes. As opposed to before, if you incorporated styles from another country into our wrestling, it was like you were doing it wrong. And Meltzer had some brains at that point. In time, Lucha Libre would gain mainstream American attention as pop culture curiosity. A little tongue-tied. You guys, you know we like that when I get tongue-tied. It has inspired Saturday morning cartoons and even a 2006 cinematic comedy called Nacho Libre. Starring Jack Black as a Catholic priest who becomes a luchador to help support his church, inspired by real-life Sergio Gutierrez Benitez, who performed for more than 20 years as the masked Fray Tormenta. You won't learn this anywhere else except here on this channel. So you're better off when you walk out of here than when you fucking walked in here. And you could hold an actual conversation and contribute to something when you're at the water cooler, your next venue, in an IWC chat, a barbecue, a cookout, the holiday season, a pub, a tavern, a bar, a restaurant, wherever it is that you hang out.
Shop for Keratin Root by
So,
today.
You understand what I'm talking about. I think you do. Today, the Lucha mask is instantly recognizable as an element of vintage kitsch. Look it up, Kitsch. Don't go Google it. Use DuckDuckGo.
With a self-standing design, it goes wherever you need it. Ready to make cleaning.
Eventually, luchadors would even become part of the fabric of WWE, and Mexican legends like Rey Mysterio and the late Eddie Guerrero would go on to become full-blown American main event stars apart from their lucha origins. This phenomenon has been most recently carried on here by a young man named Luis Uribe, if I said that correctly, who first achieved great fame in CMLL as the Masked Mystico, who will be going against Max MJF for the CMLL title tomorrow night after AEW All Out, followed by WWE WrestlePalooza. There's a lot going on this weekend. Mystico. Keep it related, keep it current. That's what we provide here as an insider, as someone who's been in the business on a 40-year journey, 30-year career as a manager, who took the fucking bumps, which is a lot more than what most of you could say out there. I'm just saying that's the connection on this channel. Eventually, as I said, Luis Hervé Mas Mystico was also able to translate that success in 2011 to a career in the WWE as who? Who was Mystico in the WWE? Bueller. Bueller. Anyone? Sin Cara. I know that some of you knew that. We're 30 minutes in here. We're about to get off the air. This is a test run for Chaos Corner Live, leading into Worlds Collide tonight, talking Lucha Libre and its effect on the United States and the sport of pro wrestling. Ironically, Uribe parted ways with WWE in 2013 due basically to a combination of injuries and creative differences. And the company opted to bestow the Sin Cara identity on an entirely different performer, thus reinforcing that when it comes to Lucha Libre, the persona is most definitely of greater importance than the person. As I read to you and express to you and expose to you some lucha luminaries, whether masked or unmasked. I mean, these guys were larger than life personalities, which helped turn Mexico into a unique professional wrestling hotbed. Kind of like the greater New England tri-state Northeast area here in the shadows of Titan Towers. Names such as Blue Demon, Cybernetico, Cien Caras, Gory Guerrero, Gran Hamada, El Hijo del Santo, Juventud Guerrera, Conan, El Médico Asesino, Mil Máscaras, Místico, La Parca, Pero Aguayo, Psychosis, Rey Mysterio Jr., Rito Romero, El Santo, El Cico de Leco, Super Crazy, and Ultimo Dragon. You like my accent there? As you roll the R's, roll your tongue. That's how you get it done. And I could go on to the Saint El Hijo del Santo, El Santo, the silver masked one. But I don't want to get too crazy here. I know SmackDown is coming on, and I certainly know that Worlds Collide, when Worlds Collide will be on in a few hours, and I'll be watching that. And we're going to come back, and I will finish up this chapter, the strangest of all movie super genres, the luchador cinema and the essentials, the man of 1,000 masks, Mil Mascaras, and of course the saint. So I want you guys to stand by. Go back and check out the previous videos. I have over 6,000 videos here on the channel. Over 1.5 million total views. And we're this far away from 3,000 total subscribers. Nobody works harder for you than I do. Hit the playlist. And I'll say that to say this because I tell it like it is. There's no better time to be a talent, a fan, a smark, a mark. That's right, I said it, a mark, than now in this business. It may not be what it used to be or what I can always appreciate, but I can certainly appreciate anyone who's ever stepped in a fucking ring and taken a bump. There's 3 types of people in this world. Those who don't know what happened, those who wonder what happened, and people like the GOC, Big Daddy, that make things happen. Thanks for being here for the test run. Live. That's right, live from Chaos Corner. Don't you dare miss it. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing down here. I'm still trying. Bear with me. Somebody give me directions.